Hello, it's Pete Taylor here again. It's day 9 of my preparation for my sourdough Saturdays, and last night I decided I was going to cheat a little, so I've decided I'm going to bake some sourdough bread today. So I've made a sponge last night, which is what I'll be doing the day before sourdough Saturday itself. So I took the whole of my white wheat starter, popped it in my mixing bowl, gave it a massive feed, 250 grams of flour, 350 grams of water, which you'll immediately recognise as being 10 times the normal amount that I've been feeding, which is still in the same ratio of 5 parts flour, 7 parts water. So that's been feeding away there overnight, and I'll show you in a minute what it looks like now. It's hungry again, it's ready to be fed again, and so I'm going to give it some of the flour that I'm going to be baking with, and then I'm going to put the rest of the flour in after an hour when it's had a chance to get going again on some of the flour. So the reason I'm doing it that way is I found that it works very well indeed to feed the flour to the culture in small doses and several times. So when making a sponge, it's worth doing small feed several times during the day. Now I've done a great big feed overnight, and I've basically made a quarter sponge, as it's called, which is a quarter of the whole flour that I'm using for the recipe and half of the water. So at the moment I've got this bowl, including the bowl, weighs 837 grams. The bowl itself weighs 113 grams, so that's 724 grams of starter. For my quarter sponge I need 600 grams in total for 2 loaves, so I've got to take 124 grams out of this and put it back into my starter pot. So that'll be 124 grams. It's had a recent feed, and then the right amount to make 2 loaves of sourdough bread with here. So I'm just going to do that. I'll just get a spoon. Never do a demo, it always goes wrong. So I'm going to weigh 124 grams of this into my pot. So I'm going into a clean pot today. Give this a stir as I do it. I'll show you what it looked like before I stirred it in a moment. I've already done that bit of film. Oh, this is looking nice and spongy now. Look at that. And there's virtually no smell coming off it at all. It's quite mild. And I'm sure that's going to make very good bread today. So once I've got this 124, I'm back to where I was with a recently fed starter, but I've actually got rather more than I want in there now. So I'm going to feed it again, which will start with cutting it back. Even though it's in very good condition, I'm going to cut it back so that the feed seems like a very big feed to the small amount of starter. 120, 122, nearly there. That's as well, this accurate, 124. Right, so that's ready to make my sourdough bread with. This other is ready to be fed again. So I'm going to start by cutting that back. It's always, you have to harden your heart at this stage to throw away perfectly good starter, but we've got more than we need there, so in it goes into the swill bin. Right, and I've weighed out 25 grams of fresh flour. I've also weighed out my water this time, so in with the 35 grams of that. I'll give that a stir in a minute, but I'll just get on and do the rye. The rye flour starter won't be able to believe it's being fed again because it's still quite vigorously working away. Still do no harm. So I'm going to put that back. Now if you do have anybody wanting a starter, there's nothing wrong with that. You can give them that to develop further for their own work, for their own bread if they want to. At least once it starts behaving itself, you can do that. It's not really fair to give somebody a starter that's not performing very well. So there we are. I've fed both my starters again. Quick stir and then we're done. As usual, make sure all the flour's taken up. Nothing left on the side of the jar. And this white one, the white wheat starch, is in a nice clean jar again now, so that'll be home for the next few days. And maybe I'll give the rye a swap tomorrow. It's a really clean pot for the rye. Right, now this sourdough, well, both these sourdough starters are now getting into very good condition, so I'm very happy that these are going to be fine for use in September. I'm just going to keep them at this kind of level of condition by feeding regularly, and then they'll be absolutely marvellous on sourdough Saturday. Get this rye stir. I'm not too worried about putting a bit of the wheat starter into the rye, because the rye is so vigorous it can look after itself. It'll kill off any intruders. I wouldn't really like to do it the other way around and put some of this very vigorous rye into the more sedate wheat pot. Right, there we are, job done. And I'll be showing you how it's looking tomorrow. I might even give you a little look at my sourdough bread if it's any good. If it's not, I won't. So here's my rye starter, which is looking quite healthy. I'm going to be feeding that again. It's less than 24 hours, but what the hell. It's coming on nicely. What does it smell like? Pretty good. Beery kind of smell at the moment. Not unpleasant. Now, here's the white, which has been given a massive feed, 10 times as much as usual. And I'm going to be making sourdough with that today. You can see it's got quite a lot of big bubbles in there, which is great, but I really want to get those working even harder before I actually bake with it. One more thing, this book by Elizabeth David, very interesting book. On pages 106 and 107 there's a description of a commercial baker's version of the quarter sponge baking system. It's very interesting reading, and he does the job in 3 parts, 3 stages, for exactly this reason, that doing little and often encourages the yeast to really work. He's doing it with commercial yeast, but the same thing applies exactly for sourdough. So that's well worth a look. Elizabeth David's English Bread and Yeast Cookery. It's available in Penguin. There's lots of second-hand copies available on Amazon and so on. Very interesting book. So here's the sourdough that I made with the starter that I'm feeding at the moment, the white wheat starter. As you can see, it's a nice open texture. Some rather 2 big holes at the top there where I haven't spread the air around very effectively when shaping the loaf, but never mind, it still tastes very nice. Nice mild flavour. On the top you can see I've done a square cut, 4 slashes to open the loaf up. That's worked out quite nicely. A nice golden crust where the cut has exposed the internal part of the dough, contrasting with the shape from the banneton in the rest of it. Underneath I've used corn grits, which I got from the Chinese supermarket because I didn't have any polenta, just roughly ground corn, and you can see from the sideways view that there's been quite a good oven leak there. This was touching the stone when it went in, and it's risen that high while it's baking, so that's quite a good sign that the sourdough is quite active when I used it to bake.